Hi, I'm Dorian, or Leviathan of my friends, and I'm an eldritch abomination lurking in the corners of your attic. Yes, I do look like this normally. Why do you ask? Anyway, do you spend countless hours scrolling on TikTok and Instagram and Pinterest just trying to find that exact perfect art tip or art tutorial? Or are you normal? Actually, if you're normal, I have no idea what you're doing here. Anyhow, today we are going to talk about just that. Those art tutorials that you desperately scroll through at 2 a.m. on TikTok. We're going to try and see if we can pick out some good ones and point out some of the not so good ones. Hopefully it'll help you out. I do have some saved that I think are genuinely good, but you know, there's always going to be some bad ones in there. First up, one of my favorites, one that I've had saved since 2021. It's basically how I render my gold and my metals in general. I tend to flip between this and something along the same lines of what the Arcana people do. They're kind of the same in general. Now, I don't normally go in with white. It's okay to go in with white if you really want to. It gives it a really, really high shine depending on what program you're using. Usually I have my highlight set on like an add or a color dodge, and depending on if you're in CSP or I think Photoshop even, there's things like add glow, and they just make it really, really, really super like neon bright with those colors. So you really want to stay away from white and try to go in the middle or into a saturated color just to make sure it doesn't look weird or wonky. Also, this little bit here at the end where they're adding like more highlights to the end, you don't necessarily have to do that. It kind of depends on the lighting as well, but just in general, it is a good idea to darken both of the ends and then gradually make, well, a gradient with the darkest to lightest colors as you get further in, and then you do your highlight in the middle, and you can do this as many times as you want throughout a band of gold or silver or whatever, but adding that little highlight there at the end is usually lighting dependent. But again, do what you want. That gold tutorial, I honestly give a 10 out of 10. It's a pretty awesome one, and if you like games like Riot and the Arcane style and stuff like that, you're gonna really want to pay attention to it. It's really awesome. 10 out of 10. Using the outline brush for the hands just seems blasphemous. I don't know why. I usually use like a rectangular sort of quote-unquote sausage method. Maybe it'll work. I think if I were to use this in general, I would probably only use it as like a quote-unquote sketch layer rather than actual line art, just because I don't want to go in and de-thicken and thicken the lines and all that kind of, it just seems like a hassle to do. All right, we got a vague hand shape here. Not the best, I'll be honest, but you know, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much a hand. I could see somebody doing this to be a bit faster, and it does honestly help a little bit where you should be placing the knuckle. Usually I have a diamond method that I do anymore. It's been really helping me quite a bit, but yeah, I mean, as long as you have a reference or know where your fingers need to be, then yeah, I would say this works for like a sketch. 7 out of 10, maybe 7.5 out of 10. Oh god, female torsos. Stop gendering your art tutorials, I am begging you. I made a whole video on this, please. Begging at this point. I've never had this method described to me as a fortune cookie method, and yet it makes so much more sense. I don't even remember what they used to call it, but they definitely didn't call it that in college, but that fortune cookie shape does mimic the shape of your rib cage. It does work a little better for people that are a slimmer figure. You do want to size and resize size and resize your fortune cookie to how broad your shoulders are or how big your chest is going to be. But overall, I would give it an 8 out of 10. Ah, yes, Lineart tutorials. I love these. I went insane about 6 months ago when I first started my YouTube channel trying to figure out Lineart. Honestly, it is the basis for most of the tutorials here on my channel. I just wanted to know how to make my Lineart not suck. I discovered Lineweight, which I'm pretty sure is what this tutorial is going to be talking about. Yeah, it's Lineweight. Honestly, 11 out of 10, 20 out of 10 if I could even go so far. Putting line weight into your line art is infinitely better than anything you could ever do. It really helps with lighting, stylization, trying to learn shadows. At the very least, it helped me. I do have an older video on line art and line weight if you want to check that out. But again, like most of the older things on my channel, I'll probably try and recreate it at some point. Still 20 out of 10. Try line weight out on your line art. Yeah, this one's gonna break some people's minds and be a bit controversial. So I don't know if you guys know this, but most industry professionals, if they have references that they've either taken themselves or they've paid for or are free open source, if they need to meet a deadline that is fast approaching, they'll definitely trace things. They do know how anatomy works and they know how things in general need to work for drawing, so it's less of a crutch and more just for a helpful tool so the art director gets off your back. So I wouldn't do this all the time. If it's something like, say, a car engine or shoes, or even, yes, hands, go ahead, try tracing it out. I would try redrawing and resketching it on, like, to the side. Tracing isn't necessarily a good idea when you are trying to learn. Yeah, but 7 out of 10, really. I mean, I trace shoes all the time. I don't know why this says the Loomis method at the top. I don't think this is the Loomis method. This is just like a box. People are starting to really use boxes a lot. Maybe I need to use boxes? Let's try it. Let's see if it'll work. All right, so they just made a box here. I think this might be more of an advanced thing because honestly, some artists, beginning artists, might not know even basic perspective. I myself don't know basic perspective all that well. I'm desperately trying to learn at the moment. It is the hardest thing ever. I hate everything to do with it. Math, hard. Sure, why not? I think our head's gonna look a little wonky, but do what we can. Ear. So far, so good. Looking slightly wonky, but you know, what are you gonna do? 8.5 out of 10 on that one. That's a pretty nice method as long as you know a little bit of perspective. I'm not sure how that box really worked. I would like to know the theory behind that, but yeah, 8.5. Oh boy. All right, we got Crazy Hatsune Miku. Off to a good start. All right, what are you gonna do? I mean, I wouldn't say that's plain. Okay. Gray is an interesting choice. What are we doing? Oh, noise. Yeah, this is pretty much what I've been telling everybody to do to combat AI. So yeah, just do that. You don't have to do it as gray. Maybe an ibis paint you do just because it's a filter or a texture, it looks like. Could also add a little bit more of a pop to your images. Could be a nice filter for, I don't know, found footage type of piece, that sort of a thing. 10 out of 10, really. Huh? They can finally shade Bob, guys. I'm worried. I have no words. I don't know why TikTok allowed this onto the page. Negative 100 out of 10. I'm sad. We'll end on a beautiful bit of advice for every artist. Hiding watermarks. Now, I wouldn't probably go so far as to hide 2 of them and then slap another one on there, but that's just because I'm not that much of a large artist at the moment. But it is probably a good idea to make a couple of them and put them on there just so that art thieves don't yoink your pieces and feed them in a generative AI, etc., etc. A watermark can literally be anything. It's just your artist's signature. All you have to do is make sure that it's visible. And if you're worried that it's too visible, all you have to do is lower the opacity on whatever layer you're using. You'll be fine. 10 out of 10. Again, was that entertaining? Did it help? Let me know if it did down in the comments below. If you like my videos, go ahead and give that like button and that subscribe button a hit. I've also got a Patreon where you can get videos early, usually about 1 to 3 days early. And we also have a store where you can get knife catasterion on a heart-shaped button. Isn't that just adorable? If you got anything from this video, all I ask is that you don't go looking in your attic. Unless, of course, you want to be devoured by a sentient black hole named Derek. It's your choice and your life. I wouldn't.
Thank you to Jacques, Herald of the Dark Roast, Meg, Exarch of the Golden Egg, High Artisan Anonymous B, Great Alpha Wolf Squilliam William, Nairuz, Seer of Rosy Mercy, Ghost, Infernal Collector of the Damned, Golden Paladin Court, Isabella, Redeemer of Bad Himbos, Keeper of the Lapin Warren, Robin, Most Royal of all the Rats, Ethereal Consort of House Vicarian, Fungal Sovereign Taz, Exalted Curator Wick, the Under-Elf of Delphinia, Paragon of Starlight, an impossible amount of rat babies, Divine Herald Jordan, Estrella, Sage of the Outer Realms, Wretched Sauce of House Worcestershire, Champion Pallypunk of the Immortal Valley, Taylor of Macabre Coney Livery, Eternal Apostle Austin, the Contingent of Fables, the Eminence of Light, Bunny, Exarch of the Ornate Tomb, Harley the Sanguinous, Grand Overlord Silas, Being of Exalted Sunlight, Delegate of Clan Latineurs, Eternal Consul Puja, High Magi Katie, the Herald of Wrens, Knight Susan of the Milkiest Order, Great Seer Clare, and Sir Matthew, Guardian of the Preserved Apiary.